All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, it's now 7 p.m. Welcome everyone to our Conservation Commission meeting this evening. This meeting is being televised and recorded. And the first item that we have on tonight's agenda is the open session citizen concerns. So if someone in tonight's audience has an item that's not on the agenda, just raise your hand, identify yourself with your name and address, and we'll take that before we go on to the further. Sir, your name, please.
My name is Gary Bevis. I reside at 175 Willis Drive, North Chelmsford.
Very good. And sir, what is your item you're concerned about?
It's not my concern. I think it's the commission's concern. I was informed over the weekend that at your last meeting you had discussed property that's adjacent to me, that I had planted grass on, and I'm here to address any questions that the board might have on it.
Okay, great.
Heard
Very
that there
good.
was supposed to be a letter going out. I haven't received it.
Okay. Oh, very good. Does anyone have any questions? Sir, what your last name again?
Bevis, B-E-V-I-S.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Bevis.
Mr. Chairman,
Dave.
the Conservation Commission owns one or two parcels of land on the Freeman Lake side of Willis Drive, across the street from 175 Willis. Parcels next to the pumping station, the sewer department's pumping station. Some of you have been up there. We had a complaint from a resident on Willis that said that the property was being used by private parties, and that the property belonged to the Conservation Commission. The property, in fact, does belong to the Conservation Commission, and there appears to be a lot of private property located on that site. We talked a little bit about it at the last meeting. We were going to talk a little bit more about it tonight. I have drafted a short memorandum to all of the residents of Shore Drive and Willis Drive that we can talk about whether we should send it out. Remember, this in part has arisen because at the town meeting last fall, the town gave a number of parcels on Willis and Shore to the custody of the Conservation Commission. And we talked about that as well at the last time. So that's the background of it for Mr. Bevis.
Thanks, Dave.
In fact, do you know who has all the material on the town land?
It's my picnic table, and those are my chairs.
Okay. There are two sets of regulations in the town. One is open space and conservation land, things you're allowed to do and you're not allowed to do for all property under the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. There's a subset of those regulations that apply to a very small piece of property owned by the Conservation Commission at the end on Willis Drive at the end of 6th Avenue, which are less restrictive than the general regulations for conservation land. Less restrictive in the sense that those regulations allow people to cross conservation land to use Freeman Lake. And also to store on a temporary basis property, temporary meaning less than permanent.
Seasonal.
Season, yeah. Very small piece of land. You should make yourself aware of, and part of this memorandum I was just discussing, one of the attachments would in fact be the use regulations for conservation land. We're also going to attach the less restrictive use regulations for that piece of property at the end of 6th Avenue. The reason we have those less restrictive is a group of residents from, do you live on Willis as well?
I do.
Okay. A group of residents from the VFW side of Willis as opposed to the end, the Groton Road side. They came before the Conservation Commission 4 or 5 years ago and worked with us to come up with less restrictive regulations so that they, as abutters to conservation land, could have access to Freeman Lake, because absent that, technically, they couldn't have. So when you get a chance to see both those regulations, you may want to get together with a number of your neighbors and see whether or not the
Oh, that's just good, Dave, just good.
conservation land is for the benefit of all the residents of Chelmsford. But we recognize that Freeman Lake can be different because people are right there. And we don't want, and as the case with Sixth Avenue, we came up with something that we thought was for the benefit of all of the town and also for the benefit of the near neighbors. So hopefully we can work with you guys to come up with something, because we don't want to preclude conservation land from being used by everybody. But we don't want it to be abused either. I'm sorry.
No, Dave, I think that's a good statement. So, I mean, I think, and, you know, we have seven commissioners on the board. I mean, I think as long as our conservation land is open to the public and compliant with our regulations, we're happy. And if somebody, like yourself, puts a picnic table out there, makes some improvements, and as long as that's not exclusive to them only, I mean, I'm fine with that type of thing. You know, it's an improvement. And we have neighbors, honestly, that step forward. Some of them are cutting grass, keeping things, neat and tidy. That's a good thing. So, I don't know, any other comments from some of the commissioners around this?
Yeah, I think, I've been by it up there, it looks, I like to see people use it. The only issue I would have is if any of the neighbors felt that they couldn't use it because it appeared that it was exclusively yours. So I think maybe if you talk to the neighbors and everybody knows, hey, it's my picnic table, but everybody can use it, and that type of thing, I think, and it's kept nice, it looks well kept right now. I think that's,
I'm sorry,
I don't
Billy.
want anybody-
I would disagree with you. I don't think it's well kept.
you know,
I think it's overused.
over you.
So that's something we'll have to work with the neighbors on.
He's got a fire pit and some
Yeah.
wood and
Well,
Picnic table.
and there's also a new
rock.
a new pier there, right? Isn't there a new incident? You may be unaware that Massachusetts Department of Environmental Affairs has specific regulations about putting a pier in a pond or a lake.
Didn't know.
Outside of, our jurisdiction is to enforce the state regulations too. We don't have specific regulations about piers in water, but the state of Massachusetts does. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but it means there are regulations. And in your case, that pier would be on conservation land, so here again, that's something we'll have to work with you on. I'm sorry, Bill.
That's all right.
Would you say one last thing?
Yeah, sure.
I've been there 20 years, and
Yeah.
it was really, I looked at that for 19 years, and it was a mess. Nobody used it. But still not many people using it because of the weeds and the lily pads, but I'm hoping that gets better. But I love my neighbors. Everybody in my neighborhood, wonderful people. We
Good.
all know that it's usable space. Me and other people, we all use it. We love our neighbors. As a matter of fact, we had our 4th annual Freeman Lake Boat Parade last weekend. And we had the best showing ever. We had, I'm gonna guess, somewhere between 40 and 50 people,
Nice.
not just on Freeman Lake, but
Right?
we went to.
Is it true you guys meet in the middle of the lake?
We did.
Is that where the meeting is?
Yeah, we were gonna have it 3 weeks ago because of the bad weed situation. We didn't know what we were gonna do, but we went from house to house to house. Everybody had fabulous food. We all ended up across the street from my house.
Nice.
Didn't get over till late at night, but we welcome everybody, and they're all nice people.
Great.
We wouldn't want it any other way.
Good. Oh, that's excellent. And again, we're here, we're volunteer citizens, trying to do what's good for the community. And again, I know me, if I see something that looks like an improvement, that's good. And we just want to work with you. And we appreciate you coming in here tonight, meeting with us. We're here, we meet every, twice a month. Tuesday nights, we're here, so,
I would love to work with you.
absolutely. Good.
So the abutters should hear from us in terms of some more information. It'll be generally along the lines of what we were talking about tonight, but we'll put it in the form of a little memo to all of the residents of Willis and Shore. Because it applies to Shore Drive as well.
Good. All right, well, thank you, Mr. Beavis. Anyone else, anything that's not on tonight's agenda that you'd like to bring to our attention? Sir, yes.
Ed Garrigan, 185 Willis.
Yes, sir.
I live right next to Gary.
Yeah.
Basically want to reiterate, we feel, blessed to live on the lake. And that area is open to everybody. And we have Boy Scout boats there. We have neighbors from other parts of the town that keep their kayaks there, that we give access to water there. So, it
Good.
means a lot to me.
That's good. Excellent. Well, that's good to hear, Mr. Garrett. Good.
Thank you.
And that's, that's what we want. It's the public good, making sure everybody's treated fair.
Thank you both for coming in.
We appreciate that. Good. We're going to talk a little bit later in the agenda under our land management. We're going to talk a little bit about the invasives problem, and the town managers come forward with a proposal to try to treat the invasives. So we're going to talk a little bit later after we get through the regulatory hearings on that. You're certainly welcome to stay around for that part of the meeting, or any part of the meeting as well. All right. Moving on the agenda then, we have a regulatory hearing, 30 Russell Road. This was a request for determination of applicability. It's a new filing. Do we have the applicant here for that matter? I don't see the applicant here. Why don't we table this one for a little bit to see if the applicant, to allow a little time for the applicant to arrive. So we'll table 30 Russell Road, and let's move on to 31 Golden Cove Road. This is a notice of intent, a new filing. I see Mr. Flaherty is present. Good evening, Mr. Flaherty. Good to see you.
You want to read the notice?
Yeah, let's get that legal notice into the record. Please, Carl.
Under the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL 131, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a public meeting at the town offices at 50 Millwrecker Road, Chelmsford, on Tuesday, September 21st at 7 o'clock p.m. for a notice of intent filed by Alan and Karen Bondison. The applicant wishes to construct a new garage in addition to an existing house at 31 Golden Cove Road. Work will take place within 100 feet of a wetland.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you very much. Mr. Flaherty.
Good evening. My name is Pat Flaherty. I'm a civil engineer and a surveyor, and the Bondisons hired me to work through this notice of intent. And there, as you come up from Chelmsford Street on Golden Cove Road, they're on the right-hand side. So if you're coming up this way, heading toward Turnpike and Billrica, they're on the right. And there's a
Just before Turnpike?
before halfway, we're halfway. And on the right hand, you sometimes, if you notice, there's some power poles in that area. There's a big easement next to them, electric easement, 300 feet wide. So they have about an acre. And it's more or less triangular shaped. And I only showed a portion of it here because I wanted to blow this up a little bit, but just head back up toward the brook. It actually ends on the old turnpike, the old Middlesex Turnpike. But most of it is wetlands. And we had Norse Environmental come out and flag the wetlands. So it's this green line back here is the wetlands. It starts back here, and it comes out onto Golden Cove Road. And there's a ditch along here also. And that happens to be the border, but there's a ditch. It didn't have any water in it when I was there, but there is water in the back. And on the side here is more wetlands plants than anything else. So they would like to build an addition on their house. It's an older house. There's a two-story, everyone see all right? Yeah. It's a two-story building in the front, and there's a one-story section in the back. So they want to put a another floor on the back. And they want to widen it out, make it bigger, and put a garage to one side. There's an existing driveway there. So the impervious addition would be what I've marked in yellow here. But the rest of it is already existing. There's no plans to widen the driveway right now. In the back of the property, they raise bees, so we have a lot of hives back here. Made kind of an exciting survey, but at the time. So our plan is to put a silt fence on the side along here, abutting the neighbors, right out to, starting right at the 100-foot buffer, and bring it around between the proposed additions and the beehive area. They could be moved, I guess, but someone knowledgeable could do that.
Can you do the work without disturbing the beehive?
I think so.
That's pretty important to leave them alone.
Yeah, they're in boxes, so Mr. Bonderson's pretty brave with them, so. But it would be nice to leave them alone, yes. There's a lot of them. And I'd like to put there's a wire fence around the beehive area now to keep people out. So we'd like to put the silt fence up against it, run it around the back here, and somewhere out in here, stop it. This is all lawn over here. Oops, and lawn in the back. And to take care of some of the runoff from the roof, I'm proposing some infiltration chambers here on the right-hand side of the building. The 50-foot buffer just about goes through the back of the garage and goes through the middle of this addition. So we're working between the 30 and the 50-foot buffer right now. We will be. What else? All the utilities are already in, of course, the water and the sewer. It's well-maintained property. So if you have any questions.
Mr. Flaherty, do you have your green cards back, the abutter notification?
We don't use green cards anymore. We use certificate of mailing.
That's fine, too.
Do you, sir?
That's fine, yeah. Thanks, Mr.
And there
Flaherty.
was a note that you hadn't heard from DEP?
No, they haven't responded. They're all working from home, and I thought they would respond by now.
You sure they're working?
No, I can't really. I send emails and I telephone, but I don't
Waste
hear
of
anything.
time.
So,
So if we can act subject to DEP approval.
Yeah, we could, yeah.
They're terrible, Pat. They really, you know
yeah,
that.
I haven't submitted a notice of intent this summer, till now, and I haven't had to deal with them, but I understand that it's hard to get a hold of them.
David?
I don't have a DEP number either.
Yeah, no number
They
yet,
haven't Responded.
yeah. Dave, questions?
What's the
comments?
lot size, Pat?
It's just over 40,000, 0.94 acres, 40,800.
And when was the house originally built?
I think it was 1938 or 39. I could find out.
Well, I'm just wondering, because you got, pardon me, a corner of the addition is within 50 feet?
Yeah,
And if there's an exemption for 50 feet
correct, yeah.
based on the age of the house. So are you out, is the existing house old enough that it's exclusive of that?
Oh, yeah, yes, it is. It was built in the 30s.
It was built in the 30s?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that exemption is from 68 or something, or 70.
Well, yeah, but it was grandfathered, so it applied to any house that was older then.
Yeah.
And just the greeny yellow is the new addition, and the orange is the existing?
The orange is the existing. And this is, the yellow is the proposed. But there's also a proposed on top of this existing here.
The Caltech chambers are taking the runoff from what?
From the addition.
The whole, both parts, or just the one behind the house?
Well, I just show them here, but we certainly would have no trouble putting more in.
Well, because, well, your
I
ru-
think-
your
I
your
think-
your roof runoff on the left has got to get all the way over to the right. That's the,
Yeah.
so you probably, either that or rain, if you, does your client willing to put in rain gardens, just to,
No, I think he'd prefer the Caltex.
Okay.
site.
but you really should pick up the runoff from both sides, right?
Correct, yeah. It's either that or we have to pipe it all around, and it's...
Your choice. I would think,
I think
well, I don't know, what's
the
a-
Caltex are cheaper.
we were talking about, what does a Caltech chamber cost? As opposed to running, well,
Be
you got-
cheaper than running around the whole place.
a second
More
Caltech would be?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
I have no trouble adding Caltex chambers on the other side.
There's no destruction of any existing facility, so you're not taking any debris away, are you?
The only thing that might be is where this little arrow is in here, or this little leader, there's a concrete patio that would have to, I didn't label it. It's right next to the stairs, that'll have to come out.
And is the addition got a foundation, or is it above ground?
The addition's gonna have a full foundation.
Full foundation, and the material's gonna be used on site or taken off site?
It'll have to be taken off site because we don't have any place to put it.
That's all I had, Chris.
Thanks, Dave. Bill, any questions?
It's a flat site, pretty much, right?
Yeah, it doesn't drop much, what do we have up here? 124 down to 120. It's only
Yeah,
4 feet on the side and about 6 feet on the back.
yeah. I think just adding the other Caltech on the left side
Yeah,
and taking the fill off the site. Other than that, it's fine to me. Nice coloring job, as usual.
thank you. My grandson helped me with it.
He's learning from the best.
It's learning from the best, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Bill.
I'm
Mark?
all set.
I don't have any questions, no.
Okay. Good, Carl?
Are you removing any trees?
No, actually, no, the only trees are on the, there's no trees here.
Okay,
There's one in the front I labeled, I thought I labeled a catalpa,
okay.
which should go, but it's gonna stay. And on the left border, there's a few trees, but they're all
They'll
gonna
stay.
stay because the neighbor wants to. keep
Okay.
them.
I'm good.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Carl. John?
I'm good with it.
All right, good. Well, this is a public hearing, so if someone from the public has any comments or questions for the applicant or for the commission, just raise your hand, identify yourselves. All right, I don't see any public questions. Any further comments, questions from the commissioners?
Because we won't know about DEP, so we'll
We
have
don't
to-
have a DEP
we
file number
can't-
yet.
We can approve it subject to getting,
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to keep an eye, well, I guess you will call them occasionally.
Yeah, I've been calling them, but I might send another registered mail to them.
Do they accept delivery?
I don't know. I haven't got anything back from them, so it's difficult.
Gentlemen, this is another reason we need a full-time conservation agent.
Yep.
We do?
Yeah, it's not fair to him to have to chase that.
No?
It's not,
No?
it's not how it
And
should
when I called on the phone, they said, don't come down, we're closed.
be. Yeah.
So, I don't know what,
W-
I should knock on the door anyway.
That's where
They
they
probably
live.
say that when there's no COVID.
Yeah.
Did you give him your name? Maybe that's what it was.
I was
right.
anonymous.
So, let's, no further questions or comments. I think we can take a vote, obviously subject to the DEP file number being obtained, as well as no comments or concerns from DEP. But we could take a vote today for an order of
Yes.
conditions.
Mr. Chairman, I move we issue our standard order of conditions with two additions to it. One is that all excavated material be taken off-site, and the second one is that there'll be a Caltech chamber for each side of the addition, and it's subject to approval or from response from DEP.
Very good, very good. Do we have a second on Dave's motion?
Second?
Second by Bill. Any discussion before we vote? No discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None unanimous. You're all set, Mr. Flaherty?
Thank you very much for your time.
You can just follow with Mr. Belansky, in the office, check out the status of what's happening.
Keep up with it. I'll try and keep up with it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
All right.
Yes, Russell's not here.
I don't see 30 Russell Road. Do we have the applicant here this evening yet?
Are there any abutters that might know why they're not here?
All right, well, we'll just table it a bit further. We have more things on tonight's agenda we can talk about. Table it, moving along through our agenda. We have the agent job posting situation. And, big thanks to Dave and Carl. Met 2 weeks ago with the town manager, and as you guys know, the position was changed back to a full-time position, thankfully, from the part-time position, and the job description was definitely modified to be much more compliant with the standard MACC professional guidelines for an agent. And Carl, you were kind enough to post that out at the MACC website.
I didn't confirm that it's shown up. I meant to look today,
Yeah.
and I just didn't get there.
Yeah.
But it did get sent, so.
I followed up about a week ago with the HR director office, and the posting was supposed to be imminent. But-
It is on the town website.
Good.
I have seen
Excellent.
that, sorry.
Good.
I didn't see it yet on the MACC
All
one,
right.
which is,
Okay.
there's a lot of postings there for similar type jobs in
There
the state.
are a lot of postings out there. If
Yep.
you were to go out in the MACC, I mean, it's like more than a dozen, I
you-
think, towns.
If you're in the market for that kind of a job,
Yeah.
that's where you'd go looking, yeah.
Yeah, but I think, and I'm not aware of any, what we've received, if we've had interest expressed from any candidates or not. I haven't heard anything, except that when we do have candidates to interview, this commission will be part of that interviewing process, which I think is really good. But that's all I have on the agent job posting. I mean, it's difficult now. We don't have anyone covering the office, and
Yeah.
Evan's pitching in from time to time, and that's all we can do. Anybody else have anything to talk about in the agent front?
I think it's good that, I appreciate Carl and Dave meeting with Evan and Paul. Our interests.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was good, and also, we've gotten some confirmation back from Mr. Belansky, too, that our faithful recording secretary will still be continuing on in those duties as well, so, thanks,
You
Vivian.
guys happy now?
I'm the secretary, so I'm real happy.
Yeah.
Hell of a way to think you got hired.
Yeah. All misunderstanding, I'm sure. All right, so that's the agent situation. Continual business under the land management. We've got the, let's get an update on Warren
Yeah.
Hole Reservation, Carl?
Yeah, so, no update on the conservation restriction. It was sent to the Land Conservation Trust, so we're still waiting feedback on that. I did send them a copy of the parking plan, which we reviewed at the last meeting. And Dale Williams, who is the president of the Land Conservation Trust, was happy to see it, and he said it looked okay to him, but he was going to share it with the Land Trust, I think, that night, which was a week ago, and I haven't heard anything from how that went. But it's encouraging that he was okay with what he saw. The natural resource inventory from the Land Stewardship Incorporated, that's part of getting the conservation restriction done. We did get a copy of that. I just got it today, and I will forward it on to the whole group. I'll try to get to it tonight or tomorrow. And it's good. It's 30-something pages of pretty good detailed description of the property, including, vegetation and habitat and wildlife and all that. So
Do they have more work to do, Carl?
I know that they need the boundary survey, the final boundary survey to make it complete. But my understanding is this was the first step from them and that they had another step to do, which I
So
would.
they'll have to get a hold of you and or us and work with Scott Ludwig for the bounds.
I think so, but it's not clear to me exactly what the next steps are, because I thought there was a final report beyond the natural resource inventory, so,
Well, I think it has to have the
the
survey.
survey,
yeah.
yes, for sure. And Dave ordered signs for the site. Dave and I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
an inventory of what signs we need for the driveway and the
Good.
parking area.
We asked Gary Persichetti who we should use to get signs, and he said, just send me what you need. So Carl and I agreed on 3 no parking fire lane signs on the left side of the driveway as you go in, on the other side of the first gate, and where they're gonna build the pull-out so cars can, because we don't want people parking there. There's gonna be a no parking fire lane sign that we put at the foot of the Poles driveway so people don't block that driveway they have. There's gonna be 2 handicap signs for the 2 spots. Remember, there's 15 parking spots, 2 of which will be handicap parking. And there'll be a no trespassing sign for the barn. And there may be others later. We
Yeah.
don't need trail signs, because Carl's working with volunteers on that, and and we've got volunteers building a kiosk, which will have some trail information on it as well.
Yeah, we're kind of doing it minimalist, and we can always add more, rather.
And we have no idea when DPW is gonna start the work. They're silent.
Yeah, and we haven't heard any more about them coming before us with the NOI.
Yeah, they have to, remember, they have to present the notice of intent to us. We're somewhat conflicted. I was talking to Carl, it might be a good idea for, when they do come before us for approval in the notice of intent, that Carl and I, maybe Mark, but certainly Carl and I should recuse ourselves from discussion. I don't know how you do it, because we own the property, and yet we're asking the Conservation Commission for an order, for an order of conditions to do the work. Anyhow, everybody does it. But I think if we recuse ourselves, it might look better. We don't want to be accused of self-dealing,
We
obviously.
can ask a lawyer.
We'll be all right. We'll be all right. And again, I mean, any action we take on an NOI is going to go to DEP. So they'll, if they are concerned, they'll.
Yep.
let
It's
us
all
know.
public record.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be good.
Okay. That's all I have for Warren Poll. On the Russell Mill update, Russell Mill Reservation, we did finish clearing the driveway behind the fire gate and that Lot C, the back lot that's near the old entrance. I didn't get there the week before, and I didn't get there this last week on the weekend, on the Saturday, so I haven't had a chance to see the parking, how that's working on a Saturday morning with soccer.
It should accommodate, what, another 25 cars?
At least. I think you could do 30 or more. The problem is we haven't done any signage or anything,
Right.
so unless somebody, and it's really more likely the mountain bikers will do it. I don't see the soccer people doing it unless they like totally, stuck. But we'll see. We'll keep working on this, but it's in good shape, so.
And here again, we've ordered signs from DPW for that.
Yep.
On the right-hand side going in, on the Mill Pond side, we'll put up 3 signs that say no parking fire lane. And at the back of Lot B is the big lot, there'll be a sign that says additional parking with an arrow pointing to the left to direct people down to the new area that the volunteers have built out. I have no idea when these signs
Yep.
become available, but.
And we have notified the police about this so that if things happen back there in the, in that area as they have in the way back.
Yeah, it's gonna
past.
be a good drinking spot.
Yep.
And I did talk to Fire Chief Donahue, who happened to be out there on his own. He likes what we've done, and he agreed with where the sign should go on the right-hand side going in. So fire department is aware, and police department is aware of the additional parking.
I think you guys have done a really good job reaching out to the concerned parties, the mountain bike folks, the soccer people, showing good leadership of getting people to work together, come up with a solution. So, good job, guys.
Thanks, Chris.
I appreciate it. Freeman Lake, invasives problem, treatment. As you folks may be aware, there's an article that's going to be coming forward to the fall town meeting from the town manager's office to try to deal with the invasives problem. Any of us, you just drive by out there and you can pretty readily see just how bad it's become this year. So I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit. It'd be nice, I think, if the commission members support this effort, that we take a vote after our discussion as to whether we're in support or not, because this fall town meeting in October will come up fast on us. So that's kind of what's going on. See if Dave.
Do we know how much money the town's talking about?
I saw something in the newspapers, and again, it's in the newspapers, but I saw a figure about $60,000.
Yeah,
in cost.
if the town approaches Freeman Lake the way they approached Baptist Hart Pond, the first year, it's a pretty big piece of money to shock the lake and to get it working. Subsequent years, at least at Hart Pond, it's about I think Hart Pond initially was 50, and they do about 20 a year, every year, of which the town pays some of it, I think through CPC, I'm not sure. But the town pays half of it, and the Hart Pond Homeowners Association, of which there is none at Freeman Lake, and I'll mention that in a minute. But the Hart Pond Homeowners Association, they pick up half the tab as well. And they manage, the Hart Pond Homeowners Association actually manages the project every year with the vendor. And the vendor is the same vendor that the town is talking to about addressing the Freeman Lake issue. But so you think it's maybe 60? Yeah,
About 60,000, and it would be the same vendor consulting firm that's done the work down at Hart Pond, which is good. The actual application of the chemicals that'll have to be, there'll be a filing in front of this Conservation Commission, and under our jurisdiction, under the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, we'll review that filing to make sure that it's full compliance.
Yeah, I think it's the intention to use the same chemicals
Yep.
in Freeman Lake that they use in Hart Pond, and DEP has approved that every year, so that shouldn't be a problem. I would add, Chris, that I was talking to Pam Rivard, who is the president of the Hart Pond Homeowners Association. They want to get rid of the chemicals. They want to see if they can find a mechanical way to get rid of the invasives. Now, a mechanical way would involve a piece of machinery that actually digs up the invasive plants periodically. I don't know whether it's annually or 2 or 3 times a year. I remember, and because they want to get rid of the chemicals, even though the chemicals have been deemed to be okay, whatever that means in this day and age. I remember 4 years ago when Hart Pond, or 5 years ago when Hart Pond initially was going to do it, I went online to see if I could find out if there is such a thing as equipment, and there was. There was a piece of gear, it looked like something Rube Goldberg had designed, that cost about $60,000 to buy. And I asked the consulting firm that's doing the work now, they apparently own a machine, and they would rent it for $50,000 for Hart Pond. So that kind of got rid of that proposal. But now, if the town's going to the town would have 3 uses for it: Freeman Lake, Hart Pond, and Mill Pond, because Mill Pond's a mess too. So there's 3 needs for it. If it's for real, we could maybe reach out to Carlisle and Billerica and some other abutting towns to see if they might rent it from us. We'd have to figure out how to maintain it and how to manage it. But anyhow, it might be worth looking at. So we can kind of sit by and let Pam Rivard do her homework and let her have her discussions with their people, see what their level of interest is.
Is there an association in North Chelmsford that wants to take on?
There is no homeowners association, right, at Freeman Lake?
I think that'd be important.
Years ago, there was, and I think the wheels fell off of it.
I think the difference between Hot Pond and Freeman Lake is when you, Hot Pond, whatever name you call it, there's like 60 houses that have water frontage. Freeman Lake only has 7. Everybody else lives either across the street or in the neighborhood. So it's kind of hard, but it was talked about when we had our boat parade, so it's not, it's getting.
What's the lady that lives on Willis that's very active?
Done,
Yes, Pat, yes.
one done.
What, she actually was part of the original
Yeah.
Freeman Lake Homeowners Association. And she said, it didn't surprise me. She said people, they move away, you know, I mean, it's hard to keep an association active because people do move away. But even, you're right. I mean, the same thing is true with Mill Pond. There are very few abutters on Mill Pond. Mill Pond, half the abutter is the town of Chelmsford
Yeah,
Conservation
it's us.
Commission,
It's
right?
the conservation, yeah. And
Over time, we're
you,
getting more people that care.
My daughter.
It reads over the last 20 years have gotten so bad that I think people show a lot of disinterest.
Well, remember, there's 3 reasons why we've got an invasive problem at Freeman Lake. One is temperature, which was very hot in June. One is precipitation, which was very heavy in July. And the third is homeowners using fertilizer. You know, that leaches into the ground and then leaches into the water. And that just encourages stuff to grow. So not too much you can do about the first 2, but through some kind of an association, you might be able to convince people to use less. I doubt that you're gonna convince them to use none, but you might be able to convince them to use less.
Other comments from the commissioners?
Well, I still think I'd like to see a Freeman Lake
Yeah?
committee,
Yeah?
like South Chelmsford does it on their pond, because it shouldn't be the town's problem to take care of it. It should be something that abutters or people who live on the lake should take care of,
But,
as South
no,
Chelmsford
you're right,
does.
Mark, but the gentleman's comment is correct. In the sense that I don't think the town owns, other than the beach at Hart Pond, I don't think the town owns any land abutting Hart Pond. I think it's just the beach. Whereas Freeman Lake, the town and the Conservation Commission owns much more
Yeah.
land than is owned on Hart Pond. I don't think the town owns half the land. I'd have to look.
Obviously, the more support.
But you're
more
right,
community
you're
support,
right.
the
yeah,
better.
having a local support.
Yeah, that's gonna help.
that
Maybe
just
you
helps.
guys could have a party twice a year instead of once a year.
All for that.
Yeah.
But I will say this, as bad as it looked this year, I've been out fishing quite often, and it's even worse than it looks because some of those
Really?
weeds are that far down.
Well, that mechanical device, they have to actually get down into the muck and dig up the roots.
And I've already gone through a couple of motors, the
Yeah.
electric, they run out, and, because they get caught, you think you're in the clear, but you're not. And my biggest concern is, if anybody ever fell in fishing fully clothed, you're not gonna make it. You're gonna be so surprised at how hard it is to swim through those weeds. I did it when I was a kid, I almost lost my life. And,
I mean, really, yeah, you're right, it's a safety thing. You get in that water and you try to move your arms and legs and you're gonna get tangled up.
I'll never forget it as long as I live.
Wow. Any other comments? This is a public meeting, so anybody else from the public on this issue of the invasives problem treatment out there? Yeah.
Just a follow-up comment on your comment. When we did have our little boat parade a couple weeks ago, everybody voiced they want to come to the town. When's the meeting? We'll go. Everybody is in support.
Good.
What we can do to help clean it up.
Good, excellent. The more support, the better.
Apparently, there was a group that went directly to the town manager, too, with signatures. I don't know who they were, one of the fellows is a guy named Butchie Lucier. He was a signer. I don't know how I think some people actually talked to the town manager in his office. But I don't think it's any better organized than that.
All right, good. Well, can we have a motion? I'd like to see a motion where question, yes, ma'am.
I was curious, on the agenda, you said that you were discussing a letter to Abutters. What
That's
was the
next.
letter?
That's next, Chris.
Oh, that's a separate thing.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that next.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I would just say I'm on 6th Avenue at the top of the hill, and even though I don't abut the lake, we certainly walk by the lake. I used to be.
Your
able to
name,
swim back
please?
and forth.
Your name?
Linda Barrington.
Thank you. Yes.
So, I mean, I think there are more people than just Abutters, that's
Good.
what I'm saying, is that,
Yep.
you know, the larger neighborhood cares about the lake.
And
I'm happy
the
to-
senior citizens before COVID, every day, the people from the senior citizen place were walking the lake. They had
And there's
groups.
people that come,
So-
that drive in to fish.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more than just the homes in that area that use the lake. A lot of people drive in to fish.
Yep.
Good. Excellent. So if we could get a motion, and I'd like to see the commission, line up behind the efforts to take action.
Well, we haven't seen the language, right?
We have not seen the language
So
yet.
I move that the Towson Conservation Commission support an article to appropriate funds to address the invasive weed issue at Freeman Lake.
All right, motion by Dave.
I'll second it.
And when we see the number later on, we probably ought to confirm. I don't want to just say, I'm willing to spend any amount of money.
I think that's
We know where the money's coming from, you mentioned CPC.
I have no, but the more yes, that's what I said, Mark, but the more I think about it, CPC doesn't allow maintenance,
That's
right?
just gonna say that.
So I don't know where the money came from.
Maybe the first time wouldn't be a maintenance, but
Yeah,
after
that could be, yeah.
Yeah.
So motion by Dave, did I see a second? Carl, looked like you seconded?
Yep.
Second, then not, okay, good. Further discussion before we take a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? None unanimous. All right, so that's that article. And again, the more people show up at town meeting, probably the better, Then, we have on the agenda a discussion of a letter to the Freeman Lake Abutters. And Dave, maybe you can just take us through a little bit of that again.
Well, as a result of the town actually giving another, well, I can review it for you. I promise I won't take too long.
Can I jump one thing in here that should be
Yeah.
real quick? We got an email today requesting someone with Evan Belansky or without, or
Yes.
alone,
Yes.
to visit the I think it's North Chelmsford by the Oak Hill, the
Yes.
new solar farm that's
Yeah.
been put in.
Yep.
I sent him a note and said I'm willing to join him,
Excellent. Good.
but if anybody else
Do
is,
you know if they're looking for us to grant a certificate of compliance?
that's my
Yes,
understanding.
that's how I read the email.
So we need to get out, you guys need to take all the plans with you, because you gotta make sure that they in fact did
I
what
wanted to
they.
make sure that
yeah.
we, yeah. There was a link in that string of emails that had all of the planned documents. It was actually like.
Oh, there's probably a ton of them, right.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff. So before it happens, I can talk to one of you guys and
Yeah.
get an idea of what we
Yeah, I mean,
should
this
do
is the
before.
type of thing our agent was doing in the past, going out, making sure that the plans, the plans conform to the actual on-the-ground conditions, and, and everything was good. And sometimes you get out there and there's supposed to be vegetation, or, wetlands replacement areas and things like that that haven't, that aren't as ordered by us. So this is our, really, kind of our best control on compliance with
Right,
the orders and
right.
conditions, so. No, that's great, so anybody wants to go out there with
Let me
Carl
know
and let
if
them
you
know.
wanna
and
join us.
Evan and you are gonna be doing a site walk. So that's good point.
All right. Just to refresh your memory,
Back to
the Conservation Commission is responsible now for about 10 acres of land on Shore Drive, most of which abuts Freeman Lake. and is also responsible for another 3.5 acres on Willis Drive, for a total of 13.5 acres of land. And at the discussion at the last meeting, it became apparent that it might be necessary, or it might not, that's too strong a word. It'd be a good idea for us to tell the people on Willis and Shore Drive that now the Conservation Commission is responsible for 13 acres. Give them a listing of the parcels, and so they know where they are. Give them a picture of the map. We've got a map showing where the parcels are. And also to inform them as to what the use regulations are for conservation land. Now, if we do that, I mean, I'm thinking of a one-page letter, 1 page of land use regulations, and 1 page of the Willis Drive land use regulations. So that's three sheets of paper that would have to be sent to all of the residents on Willis Drive and all the residents on Shore Drive. So we'd have to, and I don't know that we'd want to, whether we'd have to send it registered or whatever to make sure. It's just, and what I proposed, and I sent a copy to Chris, what I proposed that the letter be fairly straightforward. If you get 2 minutes, I'll just quickly read it.
Yeah.
Chelmsford Conservation Commission is responsible for over 1,000 acres of land in town, consisting of 13 reservations and many smaller areas around Freeman Lake. The Conservation Commission has custody of 13 parcels of 10 acres on Shore Drive, 5 parcels or 3.5 acres on Willis Drive, and then I say attached is a map of those parcels and a listing of those parcels. The Commission has adopted land use regulations with a copy attached. These regulations dictate how all conservation properties are to be used for the benefit of everyone. In addition to these regulations, there are unique regulations for the conservation property at the foot of 6th Avenue. That's the separate use regulations that I referred to. Chelmsford is governed by a wetland bylaw, Chapter 187. Its purpose is to protect the wetlands, water resources, flood-prone areas, and adjoining upland areas in the town by controlling activities deemed by the Conservation Commission to have a significant effect on public or private water supplies, groundwater supply, flood control, erosion and sedimentation control, storm damage prevention, prevention and control of water pollution, freshwater shell fisheries, wildlife habitat, rare species habitat, agriculture, aquaculture, recreation, and aesthetic values deemed important to the town. That's almost verbatim from our bylaw. Chapter 187 also gives the Conservation Commission jurisdiction to ensure that no person shall remove, fill, dredge, build upon, degrade, discharge into, or otherwise alter any freshwater wetlands, marshes, wet meadows, bogs, swamps, vernal pools, springs, banks, reservoirs, lakes, ponds of any size, beaches, lands under water bodies. This is what bureaucracy is. Lands under water bodies, intermittent streams, brooks and creeks, buffer zones, perennial rivers, streams, brooks, and creeks, the riverfront area, lands subject to flooding or inundation by groundwater or surface water. That's also in the bylaw. That gives this commission jurisdiction to manage the land to these points. Then I finished, conservation land on Shore and Willis Drives is for the benefit of all the residents and not just abutters. We hope that you agree, because it's going to you guys. Please be good custodians of the conservation land around Freeman Lake. So something that simple, and just really informing the people, not telling them to do anything, just saying, here's the regulations and here's the, and then you're fairly familiar, like, there's about 10 or 12 things you can and can't do in conservation land. You can't sleep overnight without us knowing about it. You can't have a fire without the fire department knowing about it. You can't drink. You can't sell commercial goods on conservation land. You can't have an outing on conservation land without our approval, which we often give. For example, you may or may not know, I can never remember the...
Red Wing Farm.
Red Wing Farm
weddings.
very often has weddings, outdoor which we allow, but they just have to tell us what they're gonna do, so. You'll see, you'll see that when it comes. Is that is what I'm talking about overkill? Is that what you guys, I mean, we gotta figure out some way to because it's amazing how many people in town just don't know what our rules and regulations are.
I think it's a good time now because of the acquisition of that land around the lake, that people understand that we do have properties that abut the lake. So I think it's a good time to do it, Dave. I think it was,
What I can do is I sent the things I referred to, I sent them to Chris. I can send a complete set
Yeah,
to each of you and
yeah,
ask
everybody.
you just to edit it if you want,
Yeah,
so you can see what it is.
yeah.
And then we'll get Evan to do a mailing for us.
The only thing I would say is, based on what we heard earlier, that maybe just the abutters might be not enough. That the folks in the neighborhood,
Well, he's gonna, yeah, you were talking about the both roads, right?
I was,
Yeah.
well, but there are streets off of Willis and Shore.
I mean, I don't know how far you go, but
We can expand it. I mean, we could, for example, in the upper end of Willis, we could do all the cross streets. First to, what is it, go first to Eighth or whatever? I don't know, whatever.
yeah, just,
We could do
because
that.
what we were hearing is a lot of those folks are the users
Sure.
as well, so
Yeah?
it's cheap
Yeah.
money, because it's just printing and
I don't think
mailing.
we need to do like registered mail or certified mail. I mean, I
No,
think
no,
just
because
regular mail.
there's no legal thing here, this is
No.
a,
No,
No.
but then if we ever get into an argument with somebody, they can say, you never told me. We'll worry about that when it happens.
yes.
Yeah.
It probably, maybe it won't happen.
No, this is
No,
good.
it always happens once, right?
I think this is good.
Good, yeah, I like it, I like it. So, yeah, so let's get it out to everybody, take a look at it, and then we can get it distributed out to folks. And again, it's all about communication.
If you're interested, I believe our use regulations are on the town's website under the Conservation Commission, if you want to see what they say.
I'm gonna get it, and I'm gonna pass it around. We're pretty.
Sure,
Nick,
sure.
I agree with everything you said. I don't.
If you, I tell you what, why don't you write your email address down to me, and I'll actually email you the use regulations, all right? And I'll email you the ones for Willis Drive at the foot of Sixth.
You're right, a lot of people don't know you can't have a fire.
I
They don't know you can't-
no,
I think anyway.
I understand.
Nobody knows that.
I understand.
I like it, we get the information out to people and, educate people, work together. Yes, ma'am?
Will there be something in there about if people have questions about what else isn't included in that they're doing or want to do?
That's a good idea. I like that.
Who could they?
Yeah, who to contact, where to go.
Conservation agent.
Unfortunately, our agent, we don't have an agent at the moment, but we're recruiting one, so we'll have that staffed. But no, that's a really good point, yeah.
But
Sure.
it wasn't about not being able to, it was about asking for permission to have a gathering.
Yeah.
Or contact the fire department
Yeah,
so it's not that bad.
yeah.
And you don't need permission to have a party in the middle of Freeman Lake, do you? I don't think so. I don't think so.
It was a great time.
Good. Excellent. All right, so we're on it. All right, so back on our agenda then for this evening, just circling back up to the first regulatory hearing item that we had. We had 30 Russell Road was on for a request for determination of applicability, a new filing. I assume the applicant's not here because I haven't seen the applicant here this evening. So we have a choice. We can open up the hearing tonight, read the legal ad in. I'm not sure we're able to take action tonight, not if we don't have the applicant here, particularly if there's questions around the matter, or we can just, continue it to our next meeting on October 5th. So kind of up to the commission. Now, typically the applicant's here and available to explain. Sometimes we have situations where applicants will contact our agent and say, I can't be there, but this is what's going on, and the agent will present, a little bit of the application. And some of the RDAs are more, cut and dried than others. But our agent, we don't have an agent at the moment, so. But as far as I know, we have not received any phone calls from the applicant today to the
I
office.
think
so.
if they're not here, they must be canceling. Maybe there's something
Yeah.
else they want to add or subtract out of this.
I just was
Yeah.
checking the emails
Nothing?
from Evan. I didn't see anything
Nothing?
saying you
Okay.
weren't
Well, then
coming.
there's
so-
no basis for us to continue it.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't open it.
He'll have to come back and ask for another meeting.
Right.
With maybe a new filing.
Yeah, do we have legal ad notice?
Yeah, I
that
do
was in the
have one.
file?
Yeah,
And what did did it have a date that it was advertised for?
September 21st.
I mean, I would, think maybe we just read the ad in and then just continue it on to our next meeting, at this point. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Are you gonna let there's some people here that want to speak on that, are you gonna let them speak or not?
I think we'll just continue it. We'll open it up and continue it.
We can't really have
Yeah,
discussion of it, I don't
I think it's
Well,
cleaner
I'm
if we
sorry,
just open it
if
up.
he reads the notice,
Yeah,
we can have discussion. Now, I think the party that's in the back of
yeah,
they wanted to listen and hear what we had to say, didn't
Yeah.
really want to participate in the discussion, is that correct? You're certainly welcome to talk, but maybe we should do that. We should read the notice, open it up, what?
Can you do that? If the applicant hasn't presented anything, how can you discuss it?
Well, we open the meeting to continue it.
I think the cleanest way is to just open it up, read the notice, and then continue it straight over to the meeting
To
with no
refile.
action. Yeah, so they don't have to refile.
I agree with
Because
that.
it's like,
it's just bureaucracy. Okay.
yeah, it's paperwork and bureaucracy,
All right.
And we'll certainly, just again, to Dave's point, the folks that are in the back, we're going to make, when emails get submitted to us, what we do is we will put that into the record when we discuss the matter. And we do these hearings you guys seen tonight. It's a public meeting. We welcome input from members of the public, citizens to come in. And some of those folks like to stand up and speak. That's great. Others prefer to send in emails, and we take that information in, and then the commission deliberates, makes a decision from there.
The
So,
email from Evan Belansky on this number mentioned the concern
yeah,
of these abutters, so.
exactly.
We
So,
know what their concerns are.
yeah, so we're going to make sure that those are not ignored, for sure.
Yep.
So, Carl, the legal notice, please?
Mr. Chair, under the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL 131, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a public meeting at the town offices, 50 Billerica Road, Chelmsford, on Tuesday, September 21st, 2021, at 7 p.m. for a request for determination of applicability filed by Tan Lei. The applicant wishes to construct a 24 by 36 garage attached to an existing dwelling at 30 Russell Road. Work will take place within 100 feet of a wetland. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Carl. And then if we could have a motion then to continue this matter without any testimony until our next meeting on October 5th, please.
So move.
Moved by Dave,
Second.
seconded by Mark. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. So this matter is continued to our next scheduled meeting, 7 PM, October 5th. Thank you on
Sorry
on
for
that one.
coming out.
And so that's that part of the business. The minutes, we have some minutes, right, Vivian, to review?
What date?
September 7th, right?
9/7.
9/7, all right.
I read that, I'm also.
Okay, and
Yeah,
anybody else
I
have
saw them, yeah,
anything to add?
they were good.
No comments, no issues?
No.
We're good? Do we have a motion to approve our minutes of September 7th, please?
So move.
Moved by Dave,
Second?
seconded by Carl. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I abstain because I wasn't present for the 9/7 meeting. Yeah, I was sick then. All right, so that motion carries, so the minutes are good.
I got one brief
Yes,
thing.
Dave.
I'd like the commission to spend a little time talking about the need for more trees in Chelmsford.
That's an excellent point, Dave.
Some data, just brief data, is the average U.S. consumer adds 16 tons of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere every year. One person. And they come from food, transportation, and homes.
What was that number again, Dave?
16 tons of carbon
16
dioxide.
tons. Oh, my gosh.
But in 1 year, a mature tree will absorb more than 48 tons. So a mature tree will absorb 3 times the carbon dioxide that one of us generate. I think as a commission, we need to look at 2 things. One is kind of a bully pulpit and just encourage people to plant certain kinds of trees, and we can certainly provide them with the list. The other is whether we want, and this is a bit more aggressive, and this one may need some discussion, is whether we need a bylaw that addresses how homeowners handle trees. For example, do you want to allow a homeowner to clear cut a lot? That's one extreme, with no compensation. Or do you want to tell a homeowner he can't cut down any tree? That's the other extreme. Obviously, it's somewhere in between. We're fortunate in that we don't have a lot of new development in town, because when we used to have, there was a lot of clear cutting of trees. And of course, those of you who are older will remember in the 1890s, there were no trees in Chelmsford except for apple trees.
Do you remember that, Dave?
1890s, I don't know, Dave,
Anyhow.
that was a little before my time.
Carl has expressed an interest.
Yeah.
If it's all right with you,
Jim Martin,
I beg your pardon?
have you talked to Jim Martin? Is that the tree committee guy?
No, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Now, the town has a regulation about trees on town property. What could be cut down, what can be cut down, and what, I'm talking about
It's different, yeah, exactly.
trees
This is
on
different.
private property.
Yeah.
And what I'd like to do is just maybe see what's out there in terms of regulations.
Yeah,
We tend to be a little bit more conservative on this commission historically than we are liberal. So I don't know whether we would want to go as far as to actually limit what people can do on their lot. On the other hand, there may be some extremes that we want to address. So if it's all right with you guys, let me see what we can
so
dig
Dave,
up.
you're gonna do a little research, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And Carl, you've got some contacts out at MACC,
Oh, he's an expert on trees.
you know?
You and I talked about something similar to that, Dave, about commercial properties.
Yep.
Yeah.
They tend to use more water because they want to maintain the
Well, this,
landscaping around a building. And encourage those people to use rain gardens,
Yeah,
cisterns. You can't force them, but encourage them.
Yes.
I like that idea,
I
encouraging.
find that we
yeah.
talk more about with people about rain gardens than we ever did.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
But
yeah.
we can look at both of those things. That's water conservation and tree conservation.
Yep, we should be asking on properties like I did tonight, are you removing any trees?
Right.
We're not requiring, we're just bringing the question up.
Well, no,
And we can,
sometimes.
and we can ask,
as
can
I
you
said,
just try to minimize the reduction of
I
trees?
don't know if you've been here long enough, but we've seen plot plans where we required the builder to circle the trees that were
Yep.
coming down or circle the trees that were staying. I don't know that we agreed or disagreed, but at least we were identifying.
And, you know, we gotta maybe talk more about replication, you know, if
Yeah.
trees come down, let's like
That's right.
replace them 2-to-1 or something. you know? I
That's
think it's a good idea, Dave, and I think we should, you know, we've talked some more about kind of the commission spending more time on the land management and kind of the environmental aspects of this, our responsibilities, because a lot of times we get heavily focused on the regulatory hearings and the permits and everything, but this is a good example where we might be able to have a more impact on the community.
Strongly support it,
Yeah,
And when we have an agent, we'll be able to push some of that stuff.
exactly.
when we have an
That person's
agent,
way.
again, yes.
Yeah, I think there's opportunity for
want
outreach,
Darren back.
education.
Darren.
Let's get there. Let's keep it in the family.
You know, I think we should, you know, get him to like, yeah, that would be, I like that idea. We'll have to look into that. So, good idea.
Thank you, Dave, for bringing that up.
It's good. And I think we should
Excuse
track
me.
that under land management.
You've got one you need to bring up. With NEMBA, moving the stuff at Russell Mills.
geez, how did
That's
I
2
miss
weeks in a
that?
row. You don't want to forget it.
All right, so, thank you, Dave, thank you. At Russell Mill, in the parking lot that's the newly opened or soon-to-be-opened parking lot, there was a number of mountain bike wooden structures that someone in NEMBA had built, and left there, and
It
lots of
teach the-
use. They get a lot of
teach the
use.
kids.
They're tricks, things, ramps and jumps and whatever. And they get a lot of use. I've seen them get a lot of use. But that's right in the middle of the parking area, and we asked them if they wanted to move it, and they said, well, as a matter of fact, they wanted to move it, and they want to move it into the reservation. They had a spot picked out quite a ways in, not too far, but it's not right there at all. They'd have to do a little bit of clearing in that area to set it up. I walked in there with Barry Moore, and saw it, and I said, no, this looks reasonable to me. Right now, they're off the parking lot, hidden away. One of them got pulled back, but I think it's off. Before they drag them all the way into the woods, I wanted to make sure you guys were all okay with this. This is all very much mountain biking part of the reservation.
Is this close to where the pump track is that the kids
It's
use?
behind there.
It's behind there?
It's a little ways behind there, but it's not that far. It took us 8 minutes to get there, 6 minutes. It was a little bit of a walk.
Is it an open area, or they have?
It's open-ish. Yeah, they're gonna have to clear a little bit of brush.
Where are they now?
Right now, I believe they're in the vicinity of the big granite sign.
All right, yeah, so
You know-
they're messing up the parking lot area, right?
Yeah, so they were in the middle. They got
They were
pushed.
using the parking
They get
lot,
pushed. I don't remember seeing them the other day. If they were like behind some brush. They're not in the parking lot, but they can't be used as where they're sitting right now.
Yeah, sounds like a good
As
idea.
long as everybody's okay with that.
Yep,
Yeah.
right, yeah,
Yep,
we're good,
okay. Thank you.
we're good.
I'll let Barry know.
Before we forget, let's sign the order of conditions paperwork.
I have a blank.
Yeah,
Should I
wait, let's
just-
get the blank one. We'll put the
address.
address on, though. That was the 31 Golden Cove Road, NOI. It's 31 Golden Cove Road, NOI.
I move we adjourn.
Motion by Dave to adjourn,
Second.
seconded by Bill. All those in favor? Aye, any opposed? None? Unanimous. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes our meeting tonight. Hope to see some of you back again at our next meeting.